Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is Maciej Cepnik, Canadian co-founder and CMO at Aureo Bitcoin based in Mexico City. Maciej, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. Vance, thank you for having me on your podcast. Happy to doing this podcast again. I think last time we did it, I was still working at Bitrefill. So a lot changed since then.
Yes, your second appearance on the pod. I didn't actually go back and check, but I think the other one's got to be like 2 years old now. So well worth an update. So where do we want to start? I think one thing that's cool is that Swapido, as it was formerly known, Gustavo was on the podcast as well, talking about Swapido again, I think over a year ago. And a lot has changed. The brand name has changed to Aureo Bitcoin. So tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Swapido was the brand name, I was still working at Bitrefill, and all the founders of Aureo were working at other jobs. But secretly, Gustavo was working with some Bitcoin VCs. And they're called early riders. They're Bitcoin focused VCs from the United States. And when you're raising money, it always takes a few months before you settle all the papers, the valuation, the amount, the vision. So basically, in October 2025, we officially raise a pre-seed round of $1.1 million with early riders. And they were kind of suggesting really strongly that maybe we should change the brand name. And we agree with that suggestion because Swapido was a little bit more retail brand name. And we wanted something that reflected a little bit more the premium aspect of what we wanted to do here in Mexico and LatAm. So Aureo, we struggle a bit to find a new name because we also like Swapido, and people already kind of it already had a little bit of brand recognition in the end. But we settled on Aureo in the end, and it was kind of a relaunch of the whole mission and with the whole team, with the funds and everything. So that's what happened. Sorry.
Okay. And I can't resist early in the podcast, but why not? Raising 1.1 million, led by a firm called Early Riders. What's that like raising capital? I think your first time raising venture capital. How was that experience?
It's really amazing. We have like almost 10 years working in the Bitcoin industry. We started in Montreal organizing events. We had a Bitcoin exchange also in Canada called Verify. It got acquired by another company. But it was not the same because we didn't raise money at that time. It was really just like a fusion of two companies. So, when you're following other companies, you always see in the news like, oh, this startup raised that much money. It always seemed a little bit like an impossible dream, but now we actually made it. And I think we deserved it in a sense where we have like literally 10 years working in the industry with a flawless record. We never scammed anyone. We always work also in interesting companies outside of the projects that we had. So apart from like the initial joy and excitement of receiving the money, then I think it turns more into okay, this is for real, and now we need to make it happen, right? So once you receive the money, like it seems a little bit surreal, but then you just start working harder than ever because now you have the funds to make it happen, right? So you don't have any excuse to not work or to start expanding to building a product. Uh, so yeah, now it's just like a kind of a big responsibility of making the best out of this money and build a great company and great products.
Hmm. And tell us a little bit more about the process of raising venture capital. Did you have to talk to 20 funds and get 19 no's to get a yes, or was it more casual than that? Or did they do the whole round, or did they sort of lead it and there's other sort of follow-on investors in the round as well?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, we knew some of the team members of early riders from years before, so it's not as if we just cold called a bunch of VCs and asked them for money. What happened is actually a pretty funny story because I was still working at Bitrefill, and we were on a work retreat at a Ethereum conference in Denver, and I met another Bitcoin maxi there in a Ethereum party, and I showed him Swapido. I was not working there like full time at the time, just helping out with the socials and marketing. And he was like, oh, he was so impressed, and he liked the projects. We just clicked. And he was a friend of the close friend of the early writers group. Uh, Michael Tanguma is the CEO of Early Writers. He knew them, so he presented us to them, but they already knew us, and it was basically uh, like immediate match in a sense. Like they also have a company called OnRamp, which offers multi-institution custody model for Bitcoin. Instead of holding your Bitcoin in just one institution, you kind of distribute the risk by having multiple keys with different companies.
Hmm.
Uh, and they wanted to expand this model also in LatAm, right? So they saw us as the perfect fit for being this company, premium company. So we got kind of lucky, but lucky because we made our luck for so long, such a long time. So yeah, it was like first VC we talked to. We started talking, and everything happened really naturally. So I think it's a little bit different than people, entrepreneurs that are looking, random VCs, and they have to pitch like really strongly, and they get like put on the spot. Asked People ask them a lot of questions. Of course, we went through a process and due diligence and everything, but I think we got lucky, and they trusted us from the start. And they led
Cool.
the round completely, so they invested fully the $1.1 million.
Cool. So you're Canadian in Mexico City, which must be fun. Do you guys have like an office now, or are you working in an office or distributed team?
Yeah, so we have some offices at a place called La Casa de Satoshi. We also kind of
Mm.
co-founders and co-organizers of the space. It's a Bitcoin physical space here in Mexico City, where we organize events. We built a community of Bitcoiners. We organize different type of events. We have, for example, um, Bitcoin 101 series, where we do events that are a little bit more for beginners. And then we have Bit Devs, which is led by Gustavo, where we talk more about the developers aspect of Bitcoin. But at the same time, this space, I'm actually in one of the room, and it's a really nice space, really colorful, orange Bitcoin theme. There's Bitcoin art everywhere. It also acts as a co-working space, so any Bitcoiner that is traveling to Mexico City can come here. There's coffee, there's snacks, there's great vibes. So we basically have our offices here at La Casa de Satoshi, and more or less half of the team. So me, Gustavo, Tristan, I think you met him, uh, but some of the team members are outside of Mexico City. I would say half half, more or less. But yeah, it's a really great vibes here. So I also live relatively close, so I can even walk to the office. So it's a great life so far.
You know what's funny, man, is when I search for La Casa de Satoshi on Google Maps, what comes up is a sushi restaurant in Polanco called Satoshi.
Yeah, that's many people said that because it's actually we don't publish the like I said. I mean, at this point, a lot of people were know where it is because there's some events we had 150 people here, but we just don't want to advertise it so much, so we didn't put it on Google Maps
Right.
just
Now be careful
to
with that.
just to give a little bit of upsec. But yeah, whenever you RSVP on an event on Luma, if you go on Luma slash La Casa de Satoshi, when you subscribe to an event, then the location is shown to you. So
Mhm.
pretty easy to find it, but just we don't want to necessarily just advertise it too much as well. The
No,
location.
I hear you. I get it. I get it. Let's talk events a little bit because I think it's actually a pretty interesting thread. I've seen on Twitter you talk a little bit about things you've learned organizing events because I guess this must be one of the biggest Bitcoin events in Mexico City, right?
Oh yeah, by far. If not in LatAm, like in general, because we
Latam.
grew Latin America. Uh, we grew the community like in less than 2 years from like zero members to almost 2,000 members. So whenever we make an event, especially like the party kind of events, because Bitcoiners also have like their own subculture. So, for example, they celebrate the Bitcoin Pizza Day. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there's a guy that bought
Right, right,
two
right.
pizzas worth 10,000 Bitcoin. So it became like a celebration for Bitcoiners because it's kind of a religion, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh, and so, when we organize an event such as this one, well, then we make it kind of a party like event because, Bitcoiners like to meet, talk about, conspiracy theories. They like to talk about politics. They like to talk about technology. So it's just basically gatherings of people that are really smart, generally also people that like freedom, that like technology. So it's always just great conversation. And since Mexico City is so popular, there's always also foreigners, on vacation, just visiting, and they see that there's a Bitcoin house in Mexico City, so they pass by and they have a home here, kind of.
Mhm.
So yeah, for example, one thing we in May, the 23rd of May, we're gonna organize a Bitcoin bazaar. So we're gonna force a bunch of merchants, invite them in the parking lot. It's gonna be the second edition, and we're gonna force them to use Bitcoin. So when they can sell whatever products they want, but the only condition is they can only accept Bitcoin, and the people coming to buy stuff they also cannot pay in pesos. They need to use Bitcoin. So we do this kind of experiments, and
Mhm.
just for the community, and
In the
it's really
parking lot.
yeah. It's like a big house, like with 3 floors and with offices, and then there's a giant parking lot for maybe we've did parties in the parking lot with like 150 people. Bitcoiners are not complicated, if you give them beers and put some steaks on the grill, they will be happy. You don't need to do you know fancy drinks or whatever. You just put like um, a cooler with a bunch of beers and they will be happy.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking like you call it El Tianguis Bitcoin, and I'll get the. That's what It's really what it is. It's like a little tianguis if it's in the parking lot.
That's a great idea. We should change the name for from Bazaar to Tianguis. That it's not too late
Yeah,
because I
why are you
have an
calling it a
MS.
bazaar, dude? This is Mexico, and Mexico's called a tianguis.
You're right. No, definitely. I'm gonna I'm gonna change it for Tianguis.
Back to the drawing
Better.
board. No pressure, no pressure.
No,
Just
no,
an
but it's
idea.
actually a good idea. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but that's totally right. I'm gonna change the name.
Because then they'll know what to expect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, Basar also is common, but definitely not as much as Tianguis.
yeah, yeah, that's funny. Is it where is La Casa de Satoshi? What neighborhood?
It's in Nonoalco. It's close to La Plaza de Toros. I don't know if you kind of
Noalco?
Nonoalco. Wait,
No, Noalco.
am I pronouncing that right? It's just like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see it. Okay.
it's like right south of Colonia Nápoles. So relatively close to like the expat hubs and everything. Maybe like a 15-20 minute ride from La Roma Condesa. So
Yeah, there's a couple little sub neighborhoods in here. You've always been a Navarte guy.
no, I actually live in del Valle.
Del
That's
Valle.
Narvarte. It's not my hood, but I like Colonia del Valle. I think it's a great neighborhood.
We're doing some Google Maps thing. Del Valle is kind of like the larger area, and then you can, sort of drill down. It's like Colonia del Valle, but then within that, there's a lot of sub neighborhoods.
Yeah, you have like Colonia del Valle Norte, Colonia del Valle Centro, and Sur. So yeah, the del Valle neighborhood is kind of big, and it's inside the Benito Juarez district. It's a bit complicated, but
No, no, Alco,
yeah,
the Plaza de Toros. Dude,
that's
we gotta do
where
Bitcoin Plaza de Toros night. Sorry, hit the ball.
that would be amazing. Well, now Plaza de Toros they don't do toros shows anymore. Um, but I think 2 months ago, Kanye West gave a concert there. So they're using the space for concerts now.
The Plaza de Toros? Wow. Wow, they do a lot of stuff. Tennis. Cool. Okay, so moving on with the podcast a little bit. Aureo, tell us a little bit about like the user experience for someone in Mexico who wants to buy Bitcoin. They want to buy and sell, kind of implement your best practices. What is, who's your target customer?
Right. So I can start with the target customer question because it's a really great one. People think that you receive like $1.1 million. That's barely enough to build the product. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It's enough to like have a good runway of 1 year and a half, 2 years, hire a bunch of developers, also there's a big cost in regards of all the compliance, all uh, the lawyers, the contracts, everything. That's a huge cost, and a big chunk of the money is used only for that, for licenses. So the only solution really you have is to really use that money as efficiently as possible to build a product or services that can distinguish yourself, because you cannot fight giants such as Binance, Bitso, with marketing money, because they will always have more marketing money. So the only thing you can do is by building better products, not necessarily better products, but products that are adapted to a specific target market that you can control in the beginning, so you can expand eventually larger audiences or larger customer base. So in right now, everybody can sign up on Aureo and buy Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin for us, but we definitely want to focus on corporation, high net worth individuals, and make them be their partners into making like the step to buy large quantities of Bitcoin. So, for example, if there's a corporation, a company in Mexico that manages private hospital, and there's a family and they have a bunch of wealth that they want to diversify into Bitcoin. Right now, there's not really a boutique kind of service that will help them from A to Z with everything regarding to Bitcoin. Because buying Bitcoin is only the first step, but then how do you secure it? How do you manage, gain taxes on the gains you make? Maybe you want to even use the Bitcoin to as a collateral to have a loan, right? So we're here to basically be your Bitcoin company or service for life. And apart from that, like that's more like the being close to the customers, being close to having a personal relationship to them. Apart from that, we also building innovative products. So in March, we launched a product called Direct Wallet, and it's the first of its kind in Mexico. So it's made for people that already are kind of Bitcoiners, and they accumulate in a regular manner Bitcoin. Every month, for example, they buy, no matter the price, especially if the price is low, they buy, let's say, 10,000 pesos a month worth of Bitcoin, and they send it to their hardware wallet. So we made a product called Direct Wallet, where you only need to input your Bitcoin address where you want to receive the Bitcoin once in the app, and once you send a SPAY to your personalized Aureo clave. Clave is like basically the number or that you use for people to send you money, or if you want to send money to someone, you ask them for their clave. So basically the key. And once you send a bank transfer to that Aureo clave, which is personalized to you, it automatically transform our engine transform it into Bitcoin and sends it directly to your wallet. So we never hold the Bitcoin on the platform. It's sent directly to your wallet. So this is like the first kind of innovative product that we've built, and we see, because other people, for example, what they would do normally is first deposit the pesos in the crypto platform, buy the Bitcoin, and withdraw it to their wallet. Or maybe they're lazy, so they actually leave the Bitcoin on the platform, which is not a good practice to have. So instead of having three steps,
Mm.
depositing pesos, buying Bitcoin, withdrawing, everything is done with just one transfer. Um, so this is the kind of stuff we want to build, like specific products that are really useful for Bitcoiners or for people that want to become Bitcoiners. Because if somebody doesn't have a wallet, we can help them install one depending on the amount they want to buy. Maybe in the beginning you just want to start get comfortable with it, so you just accumulate your Bitcoin on your phone, but then at some point there's a certain amount that you don't necessarily feel comfortable, so that's when you like ascend to having a harder wallet, and we're here for the whole process. And also on the other side, well, we have, for example, how Swapido started. It was also kind of the most innovative way to sell Bitcoin in Mexico, because we were one of the first to use the Lightning Network, which is like the second layer of Bitcoin,
Mm.
which lets you transfer Bitcoin instantly and almost at not cost. And it's the same process. So you send the Bitcoin to pay a Lightning invoice, and we send it directly to a specified bank account. So instead of depositing your Bitcoin, selling it for pesos, and withdrawing it, again, we made everything in one step. So our goal is really like UX and UI, the best products we can build.
Wow, that's awesome. So I guess you're going up against Bitso, which I think is the biggest sort of exchange platform in Mexico. I know in Mexico and Central America, in a lot of countries, it's actually not as easy to buy Bitcoin on an official exchange or in sort of like a quote unquote official way as as you might expect. And there's actually not enough platforms out there. Sounds like you guys are making it easier both to buy and sell.
Well, see, that's a question that comes back, that people ask on social media, like, okay, what's the difference between you and Bitso? And we actually are clients of Bitso business, so we use a part of the infrastructure to create other type of products that not are not necessarily competing with Bitso, because Bitso, they really are focusing on retail users. If like somebody is buying 100 pesos worth of Bitcoin, they are probably way off better with Bitso than with us, because a lot of people don't have hardware wallets, or they don't have a Bitcoin wallet. They never use one, but they still want to get exposed to the price of Bitcoin. So if somebody wants to buy like small amount, and they don't really care about the holding their Bitcoins, holding their own keys, and being in control, well, Bitso is perfect for them, right? And Bitso is also expanding into other investment markets. So they recently they launched that you can buy stocks directly on the platform. And we want to be a little bit more premium. So I wouldn't say we're competing against Bitso, because I still feel we're so early in this whole industry. Like a majority of Mexicans, whenever they're from, you know, lower class, middle class, or higher class, they still haven't started really starting to invest in any kind of assets, not just Bitcoin. They mostly invest in real estate. They have businesses. They have a lot of cash. The richest class in Mexico, yes, they might have like a brokerage account in the US, but it's really really limited, and that's why we also see like a explosion of fintechs and companies offering digitalized stocks for Mexican. So Bitcoin adoption is really really low here. So that's why I don't see necessarily like a competition. It's We can create our own market. That's what I believe, by offering a specific kind of uh, vision on how we see Bitcoin, rather than just like something you trade for a few months, and then you take your money back in pesos. That's not how we see it. We see it as something you should hold for decades, right? um, Maybe as a goal to, for example, to realize another dream, to buy a house, or to open a business, or to expand your business. That's when you should sell your Bitcoin. You shouldn't sell it for pesos, and just then you didn't understand Bitcoin if you're just here for quick gains, right?
That makes sense. Is this something that exists in Canada, the US, and we're just bringing it to Latin America for the first time? Or is this something that you could launch in Canada and there'd be a need for it?
No, there's definitely Bitcoin only companies in the US. They don't offer other cryptos. Maybe they offer stable coins, but they solely focus on Bitcoin. For example, there's river.com, which is kind of a great inspiration for us, and something we aspire to. There's Swan. There's a few big players in the US. In Canada, there is, for example, Bull Bitcoin. There is Bitcoin Well. It's also Bitcoin only companies. But you're right. This model really basically doesn't exist here, and we want to build this company in Mexico and LatAm that offers kind of like a premium suite of products and services focused on Bitcoin. And that's our basically our bet, that this model that already exists in the US, in Canada, in Europe as well. For example, Relay. Um, all of these companies have built really successful companies only based on offering good products based on Bitcoin. So we believe there's an opportunity to do the same here.
Okay, so is the idea to go kind of LatAm wide with this thing after you prove it out in Mexico?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, uh, I think Mexico is an amazing market to kind of prove yourself because it's competitive, but it's also really still early. So if we're able in the next year to kind of establish a solid presence and solid brand recognition and a big revenue here in Mexico, that will give us like the assurance that we could expand to other Latin American countries. Um, but definitely we have to first kind of be present here and make it work here.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
Maybe
why
after another round.
after another round? There you go. And why Mexico? I want to hear a bit more about Mexico. Is it partly just because you guys enjoy living in Mexico, and so it's like, okay, let's start a company here? It's a bit, maybe a bit of both, where it's like, okay, there's also an opportunity for Bitcoin that's not existing in Mexico and Latin America. It seems they're also quite crypto friendly. Mexico, maybe not quite El Salvador level, but still like quite good. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I would say it's a mix. We definitely love Mexico. Living here, I think you can have a really amazing life here. Uh, Obviously, there's a lot of issues, but with issues, there's also a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of wealth in Mexico. So, from a market perspective, that is definitely a good reason, to launch this kind of company here. But this is because we basically live here now, so uh, that's why we launched it here. Actually, when Gustavo started Swapido, he made it mostly for as a product that he will be able to use because
Mm.
at that time he didn't like the products that were existing, so he basically built a product for himself because we were all working in Bitcoin companies, crypto companies. I was working at Bitrefill. He was working at Wasabi, which was a Bitcoin privacy wallet. Tristan, for example, worked for Bitcoin Well. It's a Bitcoin only exchange in Canada, and we were all earning our salaries in Bitcoin, but there was not a good way to spend it. So Gustavo made it for us, and then it just trickled down from there. In regards of your comment, like is Mexico crypto friendly? Absolutely not. There is no proper regulation. If you want to launch a company here, it's really unclear what the kind of strategy you can do. People are kind of misled in thinking that they need to acquire a fintech license in order to operate a crypto or Bitcoin company here, but it's definitely not true. People and startups that have been launching in the past years already realize that. So basically, there's no real legal framework. The Bank of Mexico doesn't recognize cryptos. They never kind of acknowledge it. So it's probably going to come. It's definitely going to come. I think there's a lot of pressure from the states that will come and say, and to the Mexican government saying, okay, you need to come up with some sort of structure for all the crypto Bitcoin companies that want to launch here. So basically, what startups are doing right now is that they acquire a license outside of the country and they operate on actividad vulnerable, which is vulnerable activity for money laundering. So you need to have a Mexican entity that is declared as a actividad vulnerable, but you can operate with an external license outside of the country. So Aureo, in our case, we use a Bitcoin, Bitcoin provider license in El Salvador to operate in Mexico. But we're still registered with the Mexican authorities to make sure we do all the reports and we do the AML and all that stuff. It's a bit complicated, but that's how you can do it for way cheaper than if you wanted to acquire the fintech license for it.
That's interesting. So, what's next for Aureo? Any exciting features, expansions, or services that you recently launched and are excited about or in the pipeline?
Yeah, so there is direct wallet, and we want to really make it the best tool as possible to acquire Bitcoin in the proper way, in a regular way. So we're gonna add like features to make it easier for people to track uh, their Bitcoin investments. Then for the sell feature that we have, we're gonna come back with like the full functionalities, uh, meaning that you're gonna be able to send the money not only to your own bank account but to any Mexican bank account in the country. And that means that anyone with Bitcoin that comes to Mexico as a tourist, as an expat, or Mexicans can use Bitcoin to pay basically anyone in Mexico. So these are the features that we already have, and we're gonna just like make them better. One big thing that is coming for us will be to develop an API uh, for the sell side in the beginning. So people, external companies that would like to use our API, Lightning to Pesos, will be able to just uh, use our infrastructure that we built to offer extra services for the clients. Um, uh, there's a lot of in the pipeline. Custody inside the app will also be something we will be working in the next months, because yes, we've built like the best products to acquire Bitcoin to your own hardware wallet, but there's it's just a reality that a lot of people will start another way. They will leave their Bitcoin on the platform. Eventually, we will also integrate stablecoins, um, and we also want to make it more clear in how high net worth individuals or Mexican corporation can start their Bitcoin investment. So we're basically building the whole process of how we're gonna onboard properly a business or somebody that has a lot of money. Um, so the whole like OTC aspect of our business, because we can do transaction basically $1 million per transaction with really low fees, right? But somebody can say, okay, I want to buy 1 million worth of Bitcoin, but what do I do with it? So we're going to build a whole infrastructure of around this type of people. I think you're muted.
Oops, sorry about that. I had a random question. Where do you think the Lightning Network is going? Like, how's the adoption in Mexico, and where do you see Lightning going over the next 2, 3 years?
So there's some reports that came out recently. I forgot from which company, but they're basically showing that there's a constant growth in terms of transaction, in terms of users. So I use Lightning every day. For now, Lightning might be something that is really niche. It's still really niche, and not a lot of Bitcoiners. A lot of Bitcoiners are just keeping their Bitcoins in their hard wallet and they never touch it. But there's a bunch of Bitcoiners that are power users of Bitcoin, and they use Lightning and Bitcoin almost every day, right? So this is not necessarily something that will be mainstream from right away. It doesn't need to be, because eventually the real challenge, the real UX and UI challenge for Bitcoin companies is to kind of not not make aware the user that he's using on chain or Lightning. Preferably, he just needs an application that works, right? He doesn't need to use Lightning or Bitcoin on chain. He needs to use Bitcoin as a whole, right? So Lightning will kind of not necessarily be visible to the user. It might just integrate in the backend of the apps that people are using. But there's definitely some metrics showing it has been growing quite a lot in recent years, despite the bear market. Because Bitcoiners, like Bitcoin power users, they don't really care if their Bitcoin goes down. If they have the chance of buying something, their groceries with Bitcoin, they will do it. Um, so yeah, it's a work in progress, but it's going up.
Any funny or surprising stories from helping users with their setups and transactions? Any good stories there?
To be honest, I don't want to say we just kind of really launched in March because we were building the products and the infrastructure and everything. So far, we don't have that many stories, but the people that bought a large amount of Bitcoin, they were already kind of Bitcoiners. We didn't have to help them too much. But what I realize is that if you're convinced Bitcoiner and you buy a large amount of Bitcoin, because what happens, what we realize is that a lot of people will have liquidity events in Mexico. For example, they sell a house, or they sell a
Or they want to buy a house?
or they want to buy a house, but the people that, or for example, they withdraw a bunch of money from Afores, which is like a public pension system here in Mexico, and they have $100,000 or $200,000, even $500,000 in pesos, and they want to invest in Bitcoin. So what happens is that, okay, they buy the Bitcoin. Like for example, a few months ago, the price was still at like 90K, 100K. Then the price went down, and even if they are convinced Bitcoiners, obviously, if you see kind of like the peso amount, or the dollar amount that you lost, in theory, unrealized losses, it still hurts. It still hurts a lot, because even if you're a convinced Bitcoin, you're like, oh shit, maybe this time Bitcoin is dead for real. Uh, so there's an aspect of the psychology of the people that even if you understand Bitcoin, even if you're really convinced it's going to be a money that is really important and that can change like the whole geopolitical situation of the whole world. For example, that Iran asked to be paid in Bitcoin for the ships to pass by the Strait of Hormuz. This is like proofs that Bitcoin is definitely going in like a larger adoption curve, right? But even despite that, they're gonna be like stressed when the price went down. So I guess also when you're the one that sold the Bitcoin to your client, obviously they made their own decision, and so you kind of need to act as a like emotional support, kind of like no worries, like it's gonna go up back again. You should buy more, without being too pushy, without being also, because in the end it can be life savings, right? That somebody invested in Bitcoin. So if they see the price going down, it definitely can affect them. So um, stories like this, uh, helping people with hardware wallets. Just like 2 days ago, there's a guy on Twitter that went viral because he lost 6 Bitcoin because he downloaded a fake ledger app on the App Store, which is crazy because despite people like complaining this is a scam and this is a fake ledger app, it didn't get removed, which is ridiculous. So he downloaded the fake ledger app and he inputted the seed words. And obviously, you should never input your seed words in any software and in any situation. And bam, he lost 6 Bitcoin in 1 second. And that's a person that probably invested a long time ago, or he was investing in a regular manner. So these mistakes still happen, like to this day, even if the Bitcoin industry has 17 years, 18 years, people are still losing their Bitcoin with the human errors, right? People are sometimes overthinking their Bitcoin setup. They're thinking about like crazy hackers. They're thinking about people robbing, kidnapping them for their bitcoins. But in the end, most of the cases where people lose their bitcoin, it's with human mistakes, their own human mistakes. So we want to also share to our customers is like, if you're our customer, if you're not 100% sure of what you're doing, just ask us and we'll help you. If you want to do a big transaction and you just want to somebody watching over your shoulder, making sure you press the right buttons, we are here for that, because it still happens. Not everybody can be an expert about Bitcoin. It's impossible, right? So we want to be this company that helps you in anything you're doing in with Bitcoin. Um, because mistakes can be really really costful.
That makes sense. So, as we get to wrapping up the episode, where can people find Aureo, sign up, follow the journey yourself, as well as the company?
Yes, sure. Well, for the website, you can go on aureobitcoin.com. You have the sign up buttons. It takes less than 5 minutes to complete your account. Obviously, there is a identity verification. We don't have a choice, but we do it really fast. So in 5 minutes, you can have an account and you can start transacting, either selling Bitcoin for pesos or buying Bitcoin with pesos. Um, you can be a foreigner using it, but you do need a Mexican bank account in order to use it. So for expats, for example, that are living a long time in Mexico and they have bank accounts, they can use it. Um, but obviously, we're targeting more Mexicans in general.
Mhm.
Uh, to follow our journey, we are a little bit scattered all over the social media, but I think X is probably the best one. Uh, so we have the same account, Aureo Bitcoin on X. That's where we publish mainly our new products, some articles, some education material. Our meetups, we always share them as well. So if you want to meet us in person at La Casa de Satoshi, you're welcome to visit us during an event. And if you want to follow my journey, I'm shit posting a lot about Mexico. I got monetized 2 weeks ago, so uh,
On X.
it, yeah, on X. So you can. My handle is at Cepnik Maciej. Entonces, so yeah, that's
I'll put a link in the description for that. Dude, weren't you tweeting maybe a month or two ago about like what does it take to get monetized around here or something, like
yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
really working for it.
No, but I reached it finally. But you know, it's a bit addicting. Once you get, for example, you might feel the same way. If you get like viral tweets, then when you're not going viral, you might feel like kind of a stress or kind of insatisfaction. Maybe you get over it with time, but that's what I feel. It's like if I have like a day where I don't tweet and the impressions are low, I feel kind of guilty of not exploiting the algorithm. I don't know if you feel the same, but
I just don't really check the analytics very much. But I just try to stay consistent. But no, that's good. It's good to get some beer money in the pocket.
Satoshi's money, Bitcoin money.
Some satoshis.
I'm gonna do a video of using my first X payout to buy Bitcoin with Aureo, so people see how it works.
How would that work? Run me through that real quick.
So I have a Wise account. I have a Mercado Pago account. For any expat that lives in Mexico, Mercado Pago is amazing as a bank. You know, it's not a bank, but it's like a fintech
I've
kind of
honestly never
bank.
used it.
It works really good.
Okay.
So basically, my X account is linked with my Wise account. That was a Canadian Wise account.
Yeah.
So I receive my X money on Wise in Canadian dollars, and that can be easily converted to pesos and sent directly to Mercado Pago. So from my Mercado Pago, I send the transfer to Aureo, and it converts automatically to Bitcoin, and I receive it in my wallet. So it's a bit complicated, but um, once you have the pesos in any Mexican bank account in your name, it takes less than a minute to buy Bitcoin. So
I see. And Mercado Pago counts as a Mexican bank account?
yes, because you have your own clave, you have your own everything. It's a bank account under your name, so that totally works.
Mm. Okay. Interesting. Are there any limits on purchases? Could I buy like if I had like I don't know 50 grand in a Mexican bank account? Um,
So for the product direct to wallet, you can do up to 100,000 pesos per transaction, but you can do basically 5 transactions in a row. But starting from that amount, like 30K, 40K dollars, is just better to go with our OTC. So we do the transaction uh, in one transaction, and we can offer a lower commission than inside the app. So for this kind of amounts, we just have a discussion with the client. We agree on a certain commission, and we do the purchase in bulk, basically.
okay, cool. Yeah, that's interesting. Awesome. Any last words before we get to wrapping up the episode?
Um, no, well, if you're a Bitcoiner and you're listening to this and you're thinking about visiting Mexico City, make sure to stop by La Casa de Satoshi if you want to say hi to me or the crew. If you go on our Luma slash La Casa de Satoshi, you will find all the events. That's the best way to kind of reach out and see what we have been building in terms of Bitcoin community. So anyone that never visited Mexico City, you're welcome, and yeah, it's really fun here.
Yeah, that sounds great. And if people need a Mexico residency to get a Mexican bank account, of course, My Latin Life, we can help you get Mexico residency. Link in the description to book a call with us to get Mexico residency, Mexico bank account, driver's license, all that, so that you can make the most use of Magic's services. Magic, thank you for joining us. This has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Maciej Cepnik from Aureo Bitcoin. Please subscribe to the podcast, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcast player is. Subscribe to the pod, and we'll see you in the next episode of My Latin Life podcast.